In just a single day, the boy awakened the most powerful wind and lightning affinities. Everyone thought he must be a once-in-a-generation genius. But when he unlocked the strongest ice element as well, calling him the Chosen One didn't feel like an exaggeration anymore. His name was Qin Feng, and ever since childhood, he had lived with his adopted sister, Chu Chu. But 3 years ago, tragedy struck. He lost the only family he had left. Yet fate gave him a second chance. When he opened his eyes, there she was, Chu Chu, standing right before him, alive. That's when he realized he had gone back in time into a parallel world 3 years before everything fell apart. In this world, beasts run rampant, monsters roam free, and humanity barely clings to survival. Protected only by massive base cities, people train to harness elemental powers to stand against a monstrous threat. But elemental power isn't for everyone. Only those with rare talent can awaken it, making elementalists the most revered figures in this era. Yet at this very moment, Qin Feng cared about only one thing, the girl he had missed more than life itself. He pulled her into his arms, overwhelmed by the warmth he thought he'd never feel again. But before he could take it all in, a loud voice suddenly called from outside the door, shattering the moment. It turned out to be Captain Chen Ming from the patrol squad. He came to inform them. In 3 days, they were due to report in. Their routine patrol was scheduled for next week. But then came the bad news. Aunt Zuoli, the kind woman who had always looked out for them, was killed during yesterday's patrol, attacked by a panther-type beast. Qin Feng's face froze in disbelief. In his original world, Zuoli had died in a freak accident, hit by a Black Panther brand car. Now, in this world, it was an actual panther beast. The coincidence was chilling. A terrifying thought struck him. If everything is happening so similarly, will his sister be in danger 3 days from now too? His eyes turned resolute. He had already lost her once. This time, he wouldn't let it happen again. Qin Feng begged Captain Chun to let him take the patrol alone. But the rules were clear. As bottom-tier refugees, they had no say. Everyone had a patrol, no exceptions. If you want to keep her safe, Chan said, then make her a citizen. There were 3 paths to citizenship: slay monsters and exchange points, become a designated kin of an elementalist. Or the simplest, pay 10 million credit coins up front for a direct upgrade. When they heard the number, both their jaws nearly hit the floor. For Qin Feng, even scraping together 1,000 coins was impossible right now, let alone 10 million. Seeing the gloom on Qin Feng's face, Captain Chen sighed. Don't take it too hard. In a world like this, the rules are always made by the strong. But Qin Feng wasn't someone who'd just accept fate. He gently patted his sister's head, his voice soft but firm. Silly girl, don't worry. As long as your brother's here, no one will ever hurt you again. Captain Chun was right. This world worships strength, and to protect the ones he loved, Qin Feng had to become an elementalist. That hit him. Wait, I'm a transmigrator. Where's my cheat system? He shouted, System. You there? As if on cue, a robotic voice echoed in his mind. Host desire detected. Activating God-tier elementalist development system. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. It's real. Looks like my rise begins now. But before he could celebrate, the system hit him with a cold slap of reality. Scan complete. Host has 0 natural talent for cultivation. That made Qin Feng explode. He cursed the system up and down with everything he had. Thankfully, the system wasn't completely heartless. It still issued a newbie gift package. Suddenly, waves of wind energy surged into his body, strengthening every inch of him. Moments later, another alert popped up. His wind affinity had just skyrocketed to mythical rank. The boost was insane. Absolutely game-breaking. In this world, most elementalists only have average or decent talent. Those with mythical level affinities, only 7 existed on the entire planet. They were the gods among men, untouchable legends. And now, Qin Feng was about to join their ranks. He thought the system was done showering him with gifts, but no. One alert after another continued to flood his mind. The system granted him not only cultivation techniques, but also a new innate skill, Divine Devour. This ability would allow him to absorb beast cores directly for power. Qin Feng's calm facade finally broke, and the system wasn't done. A final reward dropped. A Tier 4 Wind Core, a core worth fighting a war over. It was too good to be true. Usually, beast cores were too volatile. Normal elementalists would never dare to absorb one directly. But Qin Feng had Divine Devour. The usual rules no longer applied. There's just one problem. How the hell was he supposed to swallow something the size of fist? Still, time was ticking. In just 3 days, he'd be on patrol, outside the city walls. No more hesitation. For his sister's safety, he threw the core into his mouth and swallowed it whole. In an instant, raging power exploded inside him. His body was torn apart, rebuilt, then torn again, over and over, agony like 1,000 deaths. But when it was over, he had broken through, straight to the late stage of the body reinforcement realm. His fists trembled with newfound strength. So this is what power feels like. But he wasn't satisfied. He was still far from becoming a true elementalist. One beast core wasn't enough. Then, as if reading his thoughts, the system chimed again. New quest unlocked. Divine training protocol. Complete wind embodiment to claim massive rewards. Based on the conversion rate of a Tier 4 beast core, Qin Feng still needed at least one more, preferably a Tier 2 core or higher, to complete his wind embodiment. The fastest way to get one? Buy it outright. But even the cheapest Tier 2 core cost over 100,000 credits. Even with the 50,000 condolence payout from Anzua Li's death, he couldn't afford it. That's when an idea struck him. A risky, but perfect plan. Without hesitation, Qin Feng set his sights on the highest difficulty path, upgrading to a privileged citizen. In this strength-dominated world, privileged citizens ranked just below elementalists. They didn't have to take life-threatening patrols, and even received generous monthly training stipends. And with that stipend, he could afford the Tier 2 core. The system quest would finally be within reach. Without wasting time, he rushed to the city administration center. The moment he stepped into the lobby, a bright and enthusiastic receptionist greeted him with a warm smile. She assumed he was there to apply for basic citizenship. Pretty typical for someone his age, but when Qin Feng calmly stated he was applying for privileged citizen status, the girl froze on the spot. The surrounding crowd overheard too, and all heads turned in stunned disbelief. The receptionist's heart pounded. Privileged citizen. That was no ordinary title. Even regular citizens were expected to bow and greet them in public. Rumor had it, if one of them killed someone without cause, they'd still get off with a slap on the wrist. Realizing her earlier reaction was a bit out of line, the receptionist quickly composed herself and respectfully guided Qin Feng toward the VIP chamber. Moments later, the two arrived. Inside sat Wang Zheng, the senior officer in charge of promotions. Seeing a young teen walk in, even he raised an eyebrow in surprise. But once he learned the boy was here to apply for privileged citizen status, even someone as experienced as Wang was briefly stunned. That age? Seriously? Still, years of working the desk had trained him well. He smoothly gestured toward a seat. Please have a seat. While speaking, he casually scanned Qin Feng's clothes. Simple and practical. Definitely not from a wealthy family. Oh, he must be a physical cultivator, Wang thought. With just one glance, he'd already guessed most of Qin Feng's background. So, Wang asked, getting down to business, which level of privileged citizenship are you applying for? Level 1 requires early body reinforcement realm, 1,000 credits per month. Level 2 for mid-stage, 2,000 credits. Top tier, at peak body reinforcement, earns 4,000 per month. With that, he requested Qin Feng to demonstrate his elemental level. Understanding the benefits, Qin Feng said nothing. Instead, he silently focused and let his power flow. A gentle whirlwind formed in his palm. Soft, but unmistakable. Wang's eyes narrowed. Wind affinity? He was surprised, but not entirely shocked. So the kid really is earning it. All right, Wang said, reaching for the paperwork. Let's process your level 1. But before he could finish, Qin Feng brought his hands together and unleashed a storm of raw elemental power that pulsed through the room. That was far beyond what Wang Zheng expected. Qin Feng's power level, it wasn't just early stage. He had already reached mid-body reinforcement realm, and still, Qin Feng wasn't done. His energy surged again. Wind elemental power condensed, roaring around him. The very air buzzed with pressure. The elemental waves hit Wang Zheng like a wall. He stood there completely stunned. A teenager at late-stage body reinforcement. That kind of talent was 1 in 10 million. A freak of nature. When Qin Feng finally received the card marking his privileged citizen status, he let out a quiet breath. He'd done it. He had enough to buy the core now. Wang Zheng, ever the professional, handed him something else. A sleek, high-end fruit phone. A reward issued only to the most promising citizens. Qin Feng accepted it, pausing in thought. Phones like this were luxury items now, far beyond the reach of ordinary people. And yet I got one just like that. Not bad. With everything done, he waved goodbye without looking back and walked out of the room. Behind him, the receptionist finally let out the breath she'd been holding that a dreamy smile bloomed across her face. Her mind raced with one wild fantasy. What would it take to have his babies? But Wang Zheng snorted coldly, snapping her back to reality. Don't bother. You're not from the same world. With talent like his, Cloud Sun City won't hold him for long. His stage is the entire world. Meanwhile, somewhere deep within a secluded corner of Cloud Sun City, Qin Feng held the Tier 2 wind core he just bought for a whopping 100,000 credits. His gaze burned with resolve. No hesitation, he swallowed it whole. The moment it entered his body, wind energy surged violently, and agony ripped through him like knives under his skin. A few minutes later, the system chimed, quest complete. Then came the rewards. First, a storage ring with enough space to hold an entire building. Next up, a lightning affinity enhancement. Bolts of electricity struck his body again and again, refining his nerves, reshaping his element. The result? His lightning talent leveled up. And then came the final gift. A Tier 4 lightning core, crackling with destructive energy. Qin Feng didn't pause for breath. He swallowed the core like it was nothing. Pain tore through him once more, but by now, this was familiar. He had been through worse, and pain was just the price of power. Ding, another notification. His strength had surged again. His wind element had officially advanced to quasi-elementalist level, while his lightning element reached late-stage body reinforcement. Normally, a quasi-elementalist would clock in at 100 battle power points, but Qin Feng, 243. So it's true, multi-element training gives exponential boosts, and if he could awaken just one more element, he'd ascend to Tier 1 elementalist, a true powerhouse. As Qin Feng pondered how to unlock his next elemental path, the system chimed in again. New quest unlocked. The goal was simple. Elevate his lightning element to quasi-elementalist, and the system would reward him with ice affinity enhancement. That meant he'd have 3 elemental affinities, wind, lightning, and ice. Triple element fusion. It could push him beyond even the elite 9-star elementalists. With a cheat like this system, that dream wasn't far off at all. To celebrate, Qin Feng decided to treat his sister to her very first meal at a fancy restaurant. She was thrilled, ordering 10 whole roast chickens and 20 steaks without batting an eye. Less than 5 minutes later, everything had vanished from the plates. Watching her devour the food like she hadn't eaten in days, Qin Feng just smiled. In that moment, his heart was full. Slow down. There's no rush, he chuckled. Your big bro's a privileged citizen now. Order whatever you like. This is your day. Choo-choo paws, fork in hand. You're joking, right? Even the rich can't always become privileged citizens. How could we possibly? But Qin Feng wasn't offended. He simply stood, brushed her hair gently, and said with a soft smile, I'd never lie to you. From now on, you don't have to work anymore. I'll take care of everything. Just then, a news alert flashed across the restaurant's big screen. Breaking. Cloud Sun City's #1 prodigy, Ling Tianyang, has just advanced to Tier 1 Ice Elementalist, becoming the city's youngest official elementalist in history. Choo-choo's eyes sparkled. Wow, that's amazing. But when Qin Feng heard the name, he paused. It sounded familiar. Ling Tianyang. Why does that ring a bell? Only 24 and already an elementalist. That's what people call impressive. It was true. Most elementalists didn't advance until their 40s or 50s. Take Captain Shin Ming, for example. He was already 47 years old and still stuck at quasi-elementalist level. To reach it by 24? That was genuinely impressive. Learning Chun Ming's real age made Qin Feng raise an eyebrow. He looked no older than 30 on the surface. That was because elementalists and body cultivators lived much longer than ordinary people, and they aged far slower. As Chu Chu listened, her eyes filled with awe and longing. But the next second, she snapped back to the real issue. Okay, but how did you get rich all of a sudden, huh? Still seeing doubt in her eyes, Qin Feng chuckled and pulled out a sleek golden privilege citizen card. Chu Chu gasped. Brother, how did you get this? Qin Feng simply smiled, his voice gentle but firm. You don't need to understand it all right now. Just believe in me as long as I'm here. No one will ever hurt you again. His words struck deep. Tears welled up in Chu Chu's eyes as she threw herself into his arms, sobbing softly. A few moments later, the two quietly resumed their dinner, savoring this rare, peaceful moment together. On the way home, Chu Chu dozed off on Qin Feng's back, murmuring in her sleep, "My brother's better than Ling Tianyang." Qin Feng let out a helpless laugh. This little brat, still flattering me even in her dreams. But just then, something clicked in his mind, a flash of memory he had buried deep. In his past life, the one who murdered Chu Chu was Ling Tianyang's younger brother, Lin Shuyang. If power renders the law meaningless, then I'll forge my own justice. Qin Feng's eyes turned cold. Anyone who dares to harm my family will die by my hand. Just the thought of that murderer brought back the suffocating helplessness he felt in his past life. But not this time. This life will be different. In his previous life, he never did uncover any direct link between Chu Chu and Lin Shuyang. But deep down, he had always suspected she had discovered something dangerous, something someone wanted silenced. It didn't matter anymore. Ling Tianyang had reappeared in this world. That meant Lin Shuyang couldn't be far behind. Qin Feng had to reach Tier 1 Elementalist before his enemy made a move, so he could wipe him out first. The next day, inside the VIP chamber of the city square, violent winds howled through the building. Qin Feng sat cross-legged in the center, a storm incarnate. Waves of wind, elemental force, surged from his body like a raging tide. Off to the side, Wang Zheng and the receptionist could only stare in shock, frozen in awe. One day, that's all it took. Qin Feng had climbed to the peak of body reinforcement. Even the city lord himself might not be able to match that kind of talent. Before Qin Feng could even speak, Wang Zheng was already barking orders at the receptionist. Go! Hurry! Process Lord Qin Feng's promotion to Tier 4 privileged citizen. But Qin Feng raised a hand, stopping him. I have another request. I have a younger brother named Qin Mu. He's arriving from another base city today. I'd like to pre-register a nameplate ID for him. Is that possible without him being present? Wang Zheng thumped his chest confidently. A small matter like that? Absolutely not worth troubling Lord Qin Mu himself. Consider it done. We'll handle it right now. Minutes later, the paperwork and subsidies were in hand. Qin Feng nodded, then turned to leave. But as he reached the doorway, a thought struck him. With Ling Tianyang in the spotlight, revealing too much power might draw dangerous attention. He turned back and warned, "Keep what happened here today quiet." Both Wang and the receptionist nodded frantically. Understood. Not a word. 1 hour later, Qin Feng, now dressed sharply in a stylish outfit, walked back into City Hall. His fresh look made the receptionist nearly swoon all over again. Wow, he got even hotter. Wang Zheng rushed forward. Lord Qin Feng, you're back so. But the young man cut him off with a confident smile. I'm not Qin Feng. Name's Qin Mu. Twin brother, we get mistaken for each other all the time. Both Wang and the girl stood speechless. Twin brother? This is too much. Did Lord Qin Feng just put on a new outfit and come back to mess with us? Still, a seasoned bureaucrat like Wang Zheng kept his cool. Well then, Lord Qin Mu, what can we help you with today? Qin Feng, Qin Mu, pulled out the very ID card he'd requested earlier, holding it up with theatrical outrage. Are you kidding me? Qin Feng actually registered this without asking me. What about my dignity? As he spoke, a surge of lightning power exploded from his body. The entire room crackled with energy, a thunderous aura spreading like a brewing storm. The sudden explosion of lightning terrified both Wang Zheng and the receptionist. This wasn't ordinary lightning. It was the aura of someone at peak body reinforcement. Qin Feng slowly retracted his power, letting the static fade. With a cocky smirk, he glanced at the two stunned faces. So, now do you believe I'm Qin Feng's twin brother? After sensing the clear difference in temperament, aura, and energy signature, the two finally accepted it. There was no way these two were the same person. Before long, they processed Qin Mu's promotion to Tier 4 privileged citizen. With 100,000 credits in hand, Qin Feng turned around and walked away without a second glance. As he stepped outside, he sighed internally. All that acting just for this bit of funding. The things I do for power. But the system wasn't done with him. New upgrade unlocked, weapon element affinity. A few sleek operations later, Qin Feng completed the sequence and became the only person in the world with wind, lightning, and weapon elements. Then came the next reward, a Tier 4 weapon core. He swallowed it without hesitation. The result? His battle power skyrocketed to 417 points, a level strong enough to rival a Tier 1 elementalist. Below elementalist rank, no one could touch him now. In 2 days, Chu Chu would head out on her routine patrol. Even if she faced high-level beasts, Qin Feng was confident. He could protect her from anything. Just then, the system chimed again. God-tier challenge activated. Success grants massive rewards. Failure results in death. Cold sweat broke across Qin Feng's forehead. Wait, what? Death? Are you broken? Who designed you? I'm going to rewrite your code line by line. The system beeped again, this time with a calm disclaimer. Note, death within the challenge is virtual. One resurrection available. Qin Feng let out a sigh of relief, then rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. Well, that's good, I guess. Still, if resurrection's even mentioned, this challenge is bound to be a nightmare. But if he didn't accept this challenge now, he might never get another chance. Qin Feng clenched his jaw, fists trembling. He took a deep breath and slammed the accept button without hesitation. Instantly, a torrent of god-tier combat techniques surged into his mind. Not just knowledge, but muscle memory, like they had always been his. As the system's countdown hit 0, Qin Feng's body vanished into thin air. The next moment, he stood in the middle of a molten hellscape, surrounded by rivers of lava and scorched rock. Around him, dozens of fireborn elementals crawled and hissed, flames licking off their bodies like living torches. Each one had only early-stage power, but if they swarmed him, even he might struggle. Guess I better hit first and ask questions later. But to his surprise, his first kill dropped a Tier 1 core crystal. While he couldn't absorb it, it could still be exchanged in the real world for 50,000 credits each. Qin Feng's eyes burned with greed. I'm going to be rich. With a flurry of punches and kicks, he tore through the swarm, quickly collecting an entire crate of crystals. But just as he began daydreaming about his fortune, a geyser of lava erupted from below, incinerating the entire pile in a split second. Qin Feng barely leapt away in time to avoid being roasted alive. He didn't even have time to curse. His foot missed a ledge, and he plunged into the abyss below, swallowed by the depths. Qin Feng had just started to relax, thinking he'd narrowly escaped death when he looked up and froze. Right next to him stood a massive, steaming beast, a hulking rage-fire boar, easily the size of a boulder, radiating the power of a Tier 1 elemental beast. One wrong move, and I'm getting gored straight into the afterlife, he muttered. And just like that, the system chimed in again. God-tier challenge initiated. Slay the rage-fire boar within 10 minutes. Qin Feng's eyes widened in horror. The creature snorted flames and locked eyes on him. Hunt the beast, he shouted. More like it's hunting me. This system's got a personal vendetta, I swear. Forget this, I'm out. He bolted, feet pounding the rocky ground. The boar lunged. Qin Feng twisted midair and barely dodged the blazing tusk. But a small mountain up ahead exploded into rubble from a single charge. Even a Tier 1 elementalist wouldn't survive that. No time to think. Qin Feng picked up speed, dodging flying debris and rivers of fire. The boar wasn't giving up. It smashed through everything like a living battering ram, leveling half the terrain in seconds. Fortunately, it was big, heavy, and slow to turn. With lightning reflexes and wind-enhanced speed, Qin Feng kept slipping away. But he knew that dodging alone wouldn't win him the challenge. 10 minutes would pass, and he'd lose out on the rewards. As he hesitated, a massive lava geyser erupted right beside him. This one could vaporize even a Tier 1 elementalist in a blink. Too close, he yelped, slapping at his scorched sleeve. One more second, and I'd be charcoal. But then, he saw it. The lava didn't erupt randomly. It followed a pattern. Instantly, an idea sparked in his mind. He leapt onto the cliff wall, pressing close to the rock face, and started watching, waiting, analyzing the rhythm of the flame bursts. With perfect timing, Qin Feng leapt out from his perch, drawing the rage fireboar's attention. The enraged beast let out a furious roar and charged blindly toward him, completely unaware that it was sprinting straight into a death trap. Boom! A searing pillar of lava erupted beneath the boar, impaling it through the chest. Its massive frame let out one final cry, before crashing to the ground in a heap of smoldering flesh. As the flames settled, a glowing crystal rose from the remains, radiating a blinding light. Qin Feng's eyes widened. A Tier 6 core crystal? That's worth at least 5 million credits. I really hit the jackpot this time. Then the system chimed again. Mission complete. Distributing rewards. Tier 4 Ice Core Ice God Sigil Fragment times 1 Tier 1 Gene Enhancer times 1. Without hesitation, Qin Feng swallowed the Ice Core. Frost surged through his veins. His ice affinity burst upward to quasi-elementalist level. But when he looked at the vial in his hand, the Gene Enhancer, his brow furrowed. These were typically used by people who couldn't awaken elemental powers. By fusing beast genes into their bodies, they became gene warriors. The reward sounded great, if it worked. But most gene serums had a terrifying flaw: rejection. One failed fusion, and you die on spot. As he hesitated, the system flashed another message. System issued Tier 1 Gene Enhancer. 0 side effects. 100% fusion success. Double the standard power boost. Qin Feng blinked, then broke into a grin. Well, I guess the system isn't all bad after all. At the same time, a new system feature came online. The marketplace.to Qin Feng surprise. The gene enhancers sold, they were priced the same as public ones, but with a major difference: no side effects. A thought struck him instantly. If I use this to help Choo Choo strengthen her body and protect her myself, she'll be completely safe. It was a simple plan, and a brilliant one. After completing the God Tier challenge, Qin Feng tallied his rewards. Total value? 5.75 million credits. That he had gone from broke to filthy rich in one night. And he didn't hesitate. He spent 5 million credits to purchase 2 advanced gene enhancers from the system shop. In this apocalyptic world, power was the only truth. Without blinking, he downed the serums, and in an instant his battle index skyrocketed to 570 points. If he kept going, once his gene fortification reached level 4, his power would reach 700 points, the level of a mid-tier 1 elementalist. One more step closer to becoming the strongest. He then pulled out the last item from the reward list, a glowing shard, Ice God Sigil Fragment. According to the system, consuming it would accelerate the formation of the Ice God Sigil. Normally, condensing a sigil was a long and grueling process. Even prodigies took at least a year to achieve partial success. But Qin Feng wasn't bound by normal rules. Thanks to his Divine Devour skill, he reached 30% sigil formation in mere moments. Then the system buzzed again. Challenge complete. Time expired, preparing forced return. A radiant light swept over his body, and with a shimmer, Qin Feng was forcibly transported back to the real world. But the system wasn't done with him yet. Second God Tier challenge unlocked. Begin now. Qin Feng paused, then smirked. This kind of opportunity didn't come often. There was no way he'd pass it up. Without delay, he turned and headed to the weapons store. Last time, he'd barely made it out alive. This time, he'd be prepared. Once fully equipped, Qin Feng took to the skies, gliding across the city, searching for a quiet place to begin the challenge. But as he landed, he slipped, crashing flat on his back with a loud thud. And that's when he saw it. Just a few steps away, a girl was hurriedly dressing, pulling her clothes together in a frantic rush. Qin Feng's brain froze. He lay there, motionless for 10 full minutes, paralyzed by the sheer awkwardness. When the girl finally noticed the boy staring wide-eyed at her, she screamed, "Pervert!" Her bodyguards rushed in like wolves, raising their weapons and aiming straight at Qin Feng. He dared peep at the city lord's daughter. He must have a death wish. Qin Feng blinked, still dazed. Wait, she was the one who sat on my head. But there was no time to explain. With lightning speed, he summoned the system UI and slammed the Start Challenge button. In a flash, his body vanished from sight, teleported away. The guards froze. The girl stood trembling, face flushed with pure embarrassment. All she could think now was, I need a hole to crawl into. To think, she, the daughter of the city lord, elegant, proud, untouchable, had just made the most humiliating mistake of her life and been seen in full. All because of her stupid father, who insisted she drink that spiritual enhancement water. He forgot to mention the side effects. Her reputation, her dignity, all gone in one day. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had narrowly escaped the awkward disaster, only to be teleported into the new God-tier challenge map, the realm of the undead. Just as he caught his breath, a herd of undead phantom stallions came charging at him, hooves pounding like war drums, eyes glowing like cursed flames. But when he sensed their power, level 6 beasts, his eyes lit up with greed. One crystal from these is worth 5 million credits. This herd alone could be worth tens of millions. But before he could plan his get-rich-quick scheme, a shadow darted past him like a ghost. A single slash, clean, sharp. Before the beast could even scream, its head hit the ground. Ding! Challenge activated. Slay the undead Skeleton King within 10 minutes. Level 7. That was the power of a mid-tier 1 elementalist. Take it down in 10 minutes? That was far tougher than last time. Even at full strength, his chances were barely 20%. Qin Feng frowned, his mind racing. I can't brute force this. I need a strategy fast. The Skeleton King merely scoffed in contempt, then vanished in a whirlwind of black smoke, completely ignoring Qin Feng. Instead of attacking him, it lunged toward the undead horses nearby, tearing through them like paper. Qin Feng blinked. Did I just get ignored? Then his eyes lit up. Perfect. You've just given me time to set the stage. Reaching into his inventory, he pulled out over 1,000 high-yield landmines. With practice speed, he planted them across every inch of the battlefield. Next came the RPG. Qin Feng leveled a rocket launcher at the Skeleton King's skull and fired without hesitation. Boom, boom, boom. A chain of explosions tore through the air. Every armor-piercing shell he had launched in a fiery hailstorm. But when the dust settled, the Skeleton King stood tall, cloak billowing, completely unharmed. Qin Feng wasn't surprised. He cracked a grin, then struck a ridiculous pose and shouted out a string of mockery and taunts. Enraged, the boss roared and charged at him blindly. But as soon as it crossed the threshold, bang, 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 1,000 hidden landmines ignited in unison, turning the field into a hellish inferno. When the flames died down, the Skeleton King was barely standing, on its knees, armor shattered, spirit flame flickering. Even with its insane defense, it couldn't handle that level of damage. Seizing the moment, Qin Feng launched himself forward like a hawk diving for prey. As he descended, he chanted, Dawei Tianlong, Shizun Dizong, Wyba Mao, then swung his weapon down with explosive force. The once arrogant Skeleton King let out one final shriek before crumbling into ashes. In its place, a brilliant golden light emerged. A 100% amplified Tier 1 elemental-grade weapon, glowing with deadly power. Yuan-grade weapons were already worth a fortune, but this one had a 100% enhancement rate, easily worth billions. Qin Feng had hit the jackpot. After experiencing the raw power of the King's Blade himself, He made the decision without hesitation. He was keeping it. This weapon would give his combat strength a serious boost. Once the last of the undead wild horses were taken down, Qin Feng was instantly pulled back into the real world by the system's forced recall. He landed on his feet and instinctively scanned his surroundings. Luckily, those people were already gone. Lesson learned: never wander through dark alleys alone again. At the same time, the system began dispensing rewards from the second God tier challenge. On top of fragments for wind, thunder, and ice god seals, he also received a rare skill stone. Skill stones were legendary items. Consuming one granted a powerful combat ability, something even most 3-star elementalists would kill for. Without a second thought, Qin Feng swallowed all his rewards. His power surged once again, but this time, the energy he felt was different. The sensation of absorption wasn't the same as before. That strange feeling got him thinking. Something about this power-up wasn't normal. He'd need to explore it further later. He used some of his system currency to buy 2 more gene serums. With that, his combat level reached mid-stage 1-star elementalist. Just then, the system chimed again. Final God tier challenge unlocked. Would you like to begin? Qin Feng refused on the spot. If the system's track record meant anything, the third challenge would be brutally hard. Jumping in unprepared would be a one-way ticket to regret. Besides, he noticed something. The system didn't include his gear when calculating combat strength. That might just be a loophole he could exploit. Moments later, Qin Feng returned to the registration zone. But what caught his eye immediately was a beastly vehicle parked at the entrance. A war chariot worth tens of millions, gleaming like a metallic dragon under the sunlight. It instantly drew a crowd of awestruck onlookers. Who could afford a ride like that? Must be a top-tier elementalist or some filthy rich heir. No doubt, the murmurs filled the air. After all, a car like that showing up in this rundown area was as rare as a phoenix feather. Qin Feng narrowed his eyes, sensing something off. At that moment, Captain Chen Ming appeared, his gaze toward Qin Feng laced with surprise. Despite being a quasi-elementalist himself, he could feel an unexplainable pressure, an aura of dominance radiating from the young man. When did this kid become so terrifying? The change made Chen Ming look at Qin Feng as if he'd just discovered a hidden gem. Suddenly, the crowd parted. 2 fully armored Gene warriors strode forward, clad in high-grade alloy suits and wielding heavy fusion rifles. Their every step exuded military might. Following behind them was a white-haired man, elegant yet imposing, his expression one of absolute disdain as he emerged from the luxury war chariot. His cold eyes scanned the crowd, and with a sneer he barked, "You sewer rats, get out of my sight. You think you're worthy of even looking at me?" Suddenly, a terrifying pressure erupted from the white-haired man, forcing everyone nearby to stagger backward in fear. The sheer weight of his aura was even more overwhelming than that of the fully armed Gene warriors, making people tremble from his soul. Then someone gasped aloud. A noble's badge. He wore a baron's insignia on his chest. That was when Captain Chun finally confirmed it. Only a real elementalist could suppress a quasi-elementalist using sheer pressure alone. And this white-haired man was clearly a 1-star elementalist. As Qin Feng got a clearer look at the man's face, a wave of unease surged in his heart. That face, it looked so familiar. Then it hit him. He had seen this man before, standing at the gates of Lin Shuyang's home, during his search for his sister's killer. It was him, the mysterious butler he had suspected. And now he had come to his home, uninvited. Could it mean something had already happened to his sister? A dreadful premonition gripped Qin Feng's chest. Had all his efforts still failed to prevent the tragedy? With a burst of panic, he rushed to the door and flung it open. Inside, his little sister was humming softly, preparing dinner with a warm smile on her face. His heart finally dropped back to its place. Turned out, she had found a lost phone on the way home and kindly gave the address to the owner to retrieve it. Those people just came to pick up what they lost. Qin Feng gently patted her forehead, chuckling softly. "You really are too kind." But even as he smiled, his eyes darkened slightly. Something about all this just didn't feel right. Qin Feng immediately turned to his sister and asked carefully, "Did you notice anything strange?" She thought for a moment, then suddenly recalled. There was a weird message on the phone. Something about a trade at Mount Luohua, 3 days from now, at midnight. His brows furrowed instantly. Mount Luohua was a known den of beasts and monsters. Only elementalists dared to venture there. What kind of deal would require a location that dangerous? Something about this felt seriously off. Now it all made sense. This mysterious message could be the key to why his sister was killed in his previous life. With this clue in hand, he couldn't afford to be careless. Their home was already compromised. It was no longer safe to stay here. His expression turned grim as he looked at her. We're moving to the citizen district in a few days. That shocked his sister. But that place is insanely expensive. We can't afford that kind of life. Qin Feng smiled and ruffled her hair. Don't worry about money. Your brother's got it covered. Then he pulled out a brand new smartphone and handed it to her. From now on, welcome to the elite. Without pause, he also presented 3 bottles of gene enhancement serums. Drink them. To keep her safe, he had to help her become stronger. If she had power, then even without him around, she'd be able to protect herself. As the 3 gene serums were injected, waves of energy surged toward his sister, swirling around her like a storm. Her transformation wasn't quite what he had expected, but the powerful aura radiating from her said it all. She had instantly become a Tier 3 gene warrior. With a single squeeze, she bent a steel rod into the shape of a perfect little dog. Just one more serum, and her combat index would surpass 200. At that level, even a Tier 1 elementalist wouldn't be able to harm her. Meanwhile, over at the Lin family estate, tension filled the air. Lin Jianhao, the family head, was furiously scolding Lin Shuyang. That phone was for confidential contact with Zhou Changtong. Do you realize what you've almost ruined? After some grilling, he finally learned the truth. Only a young girl had seen the message. But Lin Shuyang brushed it off. She's just a low-born orphan. Even if she read it, she wouldn't understand. Lin Jianhao, however, wasn't convinced. Once the operation unfolds in 3 days, it won't take much for her to connect the dots. After all, this entire plan was designed to secure Lin Tianyang's rise to City Lord, and to give Lin Shuyang a shot at becoming an elementalist. That's why he had risked everything. All loose ends must be dealt with, he said coldly, locking eyes with Lin Shuyang. You know what you need to do. Lin Shuyang nodded, eyes sharp with intent. Leave it to me. I'll take care of everything. Then, turning to the white-haired man beside him, Lin Jianhao added, Baisu, follow him in secret. Make sure nothing goes wrong. And if you get the chance, eliminate the girl's brother too. Understood. Baisu responded coldly, his sharp eyes brimming with lethal confidence. This mission was as good as done. Scene shift to the bustling commercial district of Yunyang Bay City, where crowds packed the streets, laughter and voices echoing in every corner. Qin Feng and his sister were happily shopping, arm in arm. The girl twirled in her new outfit, beaming. Big bro, do I look good in this? Qin Feng grinned. You look amazing. And it's not just stylish. It's made from the hide of a Tier 1 beast. It could tank a blow from a Tier 4 monster. She gasped, running her fingers over the soft material. It's so smooth. I didn't think something this comfy could be that strong. Then she blinked curiously. But big bro, you're a registered citizen. You don't need to go on patrols. Why buy armor? Qin Feng ruffled her hair. Because I want to go out there with you. To keep you safe, always. She pouted. But didn't you say I'm stronger than most pre-elementalists now? Silly girl, Qin Feng chuckled. You've got the strength, sure, but zero real combat experience. How could I let you face danger alone? At the moment, his wind and lightning divine marks had reached 52% and 41% completion, respectively. His ice mark? A stunning 62%. But progress had clearly hit a bottleneck. If he wanted to evolve faster, he'd have to face the 3rd God tier challenge. Still, despite being stronger than most, he felt it'd be safer to arm himself with a proper Yuan grade weapon first. And those cost billions. Just as that thought crossed his mind, a furious shout erupted nearby. Why won't you sell it to me, huh? The sudden outburst startled both siblings. They instinctively turned to look. What the hell was going on now? The commotion came from the gene pharmacy. Curious, Qin Feng turned to see what was going on. A light-haired teenager was yelling furiously. He'd offered 5 million copper coins for a basic-level gene serum, far above the market price of 1.5 million, and still got turned down. What? You think I'm not good enough? Is it still too low? Fine, 15 million. Sell it or not. His outrageous offer stunned the crowd. His wealth was downright terrifying. The pharmacy clerk looked awkward. Young Master Wang, it's not us. The city lord strictly forbade selling you any more gene serums. Our hands are tied. The damn city lord again. Why is he always in my business? Wang Xiao stomped his feet, face red with rage. Qin Feng was still puzzled when Chu Chu leaned over to explain. That guy's Wang Xiao, grandson of the former city lord. He's got zero talent for cultivation, so he's been relying on gene serums to become a warrior. But the serums are dangerous. Too many and you'll die. His grandfather made the new city lord issue an order. No one is allowed to sell him anymore. A sly grin crept across Qin Feng's face. This was a golden opportunity. In a flash, he appeared right in front of Wang Xiao. Heard you're looking for a basic gene serum? Wang Xiao flinched. You've got one. Qin Feng instantly switched into salesman mode, pitching his product with all the flair of a pro. But before he could finish, a burly man beside Wang Xiao stepped forward and growled, Kid, do you even know what you're doing? The city lord's ban is clear. No one is allowed to sell our young master any gene enhancers. Either you've never heard of the rule, or you've got a death wish. With that, he released a surge of wind energy, showing off his strength as a Tier 1 wind elementalist. Qin Feng flinched for a second at the man's show of force, but quickly regained his composure. Strength-wise, he was confident he could win in a real fight. Wang Xiao quickly stepped in. Uncle Lu, stay out of this. I'll handle it. But Uncle Lu knew Wang Xiao's body had a high rejection rate. What was an 80% success rate for others? For him, it was barely 50-50. Qin Feng smirked and played his ace. My serum? Guaranteed 100% success. Wang Xiao's eyes lit up. Really? How much? Qin Feng held up 2 fingers in a peace sign. Wang Xiao assumed he meant 2 million. Is that it? Chump change. But Qin Feng winked. Nah, 20 million. The crowd gasped as jaws dropped. He was clearly out for blood. Uncle Lu yanked Wang Xiao behind him. This kid's a scammer, just trying to rip us off. The crowd broke into whispers. Everyone was calling Qin Feng a snake oil salesman. Don't fall for it, young master. Chu Chu, who'd been quiet the whole time, couldn't take it anymore. Her face turned red with anger. My brother is not a scammer. She marched up to Wang Xiao and snapped. You were just shouting about spending 15 million on junk. My brother's serum is the real deal. 20 million is a bargain. Uncle Lu was still skeptical. There's no such thing as a 100% success rate, let alone enhanced effects. That's pure fantasy. But Wang Xiao couldn't help being tempted. He stared at the vial. If it's real, I'll pay. But how can you prove it's legit? Qin Feng smirked. Easy. Run a rejection test before using it. The truth will speak for itself. Every eye turned to the pharmacist, silently urging him to weigh in. The shopkeeper nodded. We can run the test here. Results will be ready quickly. Moments later, the results came back. 0% rejection rate. They ran the test 10 times. Still 0. Uncle Lu, 10 tests and nothing. Can I take it now? Wang Xiao asked, pale from all the blood tests. But Uncle Lu remained cautious. Even if it's safe, that doesn't guarantee it'll work. Wang Xiao waved him off. Safe is good enough. I've got the cash to gamble on a miracle. 20 million transferred. Congrats, young Master Wang. The serum's yours now. Qin Feng tossed the vial with a smug grin. Without hesitation, Wang Xiao tossed the gene serum straight into his mouth. The moment it went down, a surge of power erupted from within his body, pulsing through his veins. Eager to test his newfound strength, he dashed to the combat testing machine and threw a heavy punch. The numbers blinked. Combat power, 30. A miracle. Regular tier, 1 gene warriors only reached 15. This serum had doubled his strength. Tears welled up in Wang Zhao's eyes. He was overwhelmed. He lunged into Uncle Lu's arms. Uncle Lu, I finally did it. I'm a gene warrior now. Then he turned to Qin Feng and raised a thumbs up. You're a legend. A true medicine god. From now on, You're my brother." The crowd lost it. Everyone rushed toward Qin Feng, begging the medicine god to sell them a vial too. Qin Feng kicked back on a nearby couch, smug as ever. "One at a time, people. No pushing." By the time he finished, he had made well over 100 million in profits. "Brother, this is amazing. We made over 200 million. Chu Chu squealed in delight. Qin Feng knew he could earn even more through the system's marketplace, but he decided it was better to keep a low profile for now. With their wallets full, the siblings headed to the weapon shop to gear up. Soon, they arrived at the famous Yuanqi Pavilion. Chu Chu gasped as they stepped inside. So many elemental masters, all in one place? A staff member approached them politely. Looking for something specific today, Qin Feng looked around at the buzzing crowd. "Why is it so packed today?" The staffer smiled. Today is Blind Box Day. See those metal cases on the table? Special yuan-grade weapon boxes, 1.3 billion each. Could be worth as little as 1 billion, or as much as 6. Turns out, getting a good weapon from these blind boxes was purely a matter of luck. Just then, a burly man with 3 strands of hair stepped up and picked out his box. The crowd eagerly waited to see how lucky he'd be. The Viscount hosting the event repeated the rules. 1.3 billion per box. Pay first, open second. No refunds after opening. Standing quietly in the back, Qin Feng sized up the Viscount. A real noble, probably a 2-star elemental master. The hairy guy handed over the money and politely asked the Viscount to help him open the box. The Viscount calmly placed his hand on the biometric scanner. Fingerprint verified. Opening now. The box opened with a click, revealing a fiery red broadsword. Amplification rate, 50%. The worst kind. When he saw the result, the man's face turned pale. A 50% weapon meant he'd just lost 300 million on the spot. But the crowd had already moved on, swarming the next buyer with cheers and excitement. No one paid attention to the crushed man slumped on the floor. Then, someone else hit the jackpot, pulling out a defensive earth shield with a 76% amplification rate, worth over 3 billion. Gasps filled the room. Watching all this, Qin Feng calculated quickly. With only 2 billion to spare, I can't afford a premium-grade yuan weapon. Might as well take a gamble. Who knows? Just then, a series of floating holograms appeared over the blind boxes, courtesy of his system. Each showed the exact weapon and quality inside. This is like seeing the answers on a test, he thought, eyes sparkling. Jackpot incoming. Since he could only afford one box, he had to make a count and pick the absolute best. Carefully, he scanned through each box, using the system display to identify the most valuable hidden treasure. In no time, Qin Feng locked his choice. He even pointed it out to his sister. "This is it. Time to shine." With full confidence, he placed the box on the counter and asked the Viscount to open it. The crowd whispered among themselves. He looked young, yet could afford blind box. Must be the son of some elite family. As per the rules, payment first, unboxing second. The box opened, and a gust of wind swirled out. A wind-type yuan weapon. It was the legendary Wind Shadow Boots, a wind element support gear that boosts speed by 100%. The nearby elemental masters clenched their jaws in envy. This thing was worth at least 500 million, if you could even find one. Beside him, Chu Chu clapped excitedly. "Big brother, you're amazing." Even the usually reserved Viscount couldn't help but praise him. Quite the lucky young man. "A top-tier pull on your first try. Impressive." "You're too kind, sir," Qin Feng replied with a modest smile. It was just a stroke of luck. Word quickly spread, and people rushed to buy the Gen Weapon blind boxes. Little did they know, all the 100% amplification ones were already gone. Qin Feng then took Chu Chu to the Warrior Tower. After the awkward incident during his last mission, he decided to bring Chu Chu along this time, just in case. The Warrior Tower was a hub for gene warriors and physique masters to gather, share intel, and form hunting parties to take down beasts and monsters. It also featured private training chambers, sparring zones, and advanced testing facilities. Qin Feng led Chu Chu up to the second floor, heading straight for the testing hall. With a patrol mission scheduled for tomorrow, he wanted Chu Chu to be able to defend herself. So he handed her a level 4 gene serum. Without hesitation, Chu Chu drank it in one gulp. Instantly, waves of powerful gene energy erupted from her body, surging outward with force. Chu-Chu could feel it too. Her strength had grown significantly. Unable to contain her excitement, she rushed over to the power testing zone, eager to see her new combat stats. Without hesitation, she channeled all her strength into a punch and slammed it into the power meter. The screen lit up. Combat power 199. Overjoyed, Chu-Chu jumped into Qin Feng's arms. Big bro, my power level is 199. Just wait, tomorrow's patrol mission is going to blow everyone's minds. Qin Feng smiled faintly. Easy there, little one. Keep a low profile for now. No one can know how strong we really are. Huh? Why not? Chu-Chu asked, puzzled. Qin Feng simply replied, you'll understand when the time comes. Knowing she had the power but lacked combat technique, Qin Feng sent her to the training hall. The 3D combat simulators, they were perfect for honing real fighting skills. With Chu-Chu settled, he headed into a private cultivation chamber, ready to activate his next system mission. But before starting, he had one thing to test. Could his God-tier Devour skill absorb beast cores to reconstruct his cells and reshape his body? Qin Feng reached into his storage ring and pulled out the Bloodbone Blade and a freshly purchased level 1 beast core. Without hesitation, he made a shallow cut across his left forearm using the blade. At the same time, he swallowed the beast core. Activating his God-tier Devour skill, he watched as the core's energy began flowing toward the wounded area. Moments later, the cut started healing rapidly, so fast it was visible to the naked eye. Just as he expected, the Devour skill not only accelerated his cultivation, but also granted powerful regeneration. With this newfound, self-healing ability, Qin Feng's overall strength took another major leap. With everything in place, he initiated his third God-tier challenge. The system prompt echoed, teleporting in 10 seconds. Destination, Polar Ice Field. 10 seconds later, he found himself in a frozen wasteland where the temperature plunged to -70 or 80 degrees Celsius. Thankfully, his body had undergone triple element tempering. Without that, he would have frozen solid the moment he arrived. Just then, Qin Feng sensed something off behind him. He instinctively swung his blade backward, only to find nothing there. But what truly startled him was the trail of human footprints clearly imprinted on the icy ground. A chill ran down his spine. Could someone else be here besides him? Before he could process it, a figure suddenly appeared behind him and struck with full force. Qin Feng coughed up a mouthful of blood on the spot. Luckily, his beast-hide armor absorbed the brunt of the blow. Without it, he would have been finished. The attacker stepped into view, a mysterious ice phantom, smirking coldly. Then came the system alert. Warning, enemy identified. Ice Phantom. Level 10. Combat power equivalent to a 2-star junior elementalist. Possesses the stealth skill Frost Veil, allowing it to vanish completely, even erasing its aura. Qin Feng cursed under his breath. He knew this third challenge would be tough, but this was ridiculous. He stood no chance against something like this, especially with its invisible sneak attacks. Just then, the system chimed again. God-tier challenge initiated. Objective: eliminate the Ice Phantom within 20 minutes. The Ice Phantom let out a spine-chilling laugh. Jia jia jia. Then, right in front of Qin Feng, the sneaky bastard used Frost Veil and vanished into thin air again. A moment later, it reappeared behind him, attempting the same sneak attack as before. But Qin Feng was ready this time. He leapt forward just in time to dodge the blow. Seizing the moment, he unleashed his most powerful move, Berserk Strike, stacked with the Bloodbone Blade's 100% amplification. His blade landed squarely on the Ice Phantom. Unfortunately, the creature managed to block it, taking minimal damage. Enraged, it let out a roar and charged straight at him again. Qin Feng swung his blade in defense, but the Phantom vanished once more, using that cursed invisibility trick right in front of him. To prevent another sneak attack from the sneaky Phantom, Qin Feng quickly pulled out several lightning doom mines from his storage ring and scattered them across the area, forming a dense minefield. The Ice Phantom, clueless about what landmines even were, ignored them completely. As soon as it stepped in, a series of thunderous explosions erupted, blasting the creature into a stunned daze. With his position now exposed, Qin Feng took the opportunity to toss a flash grenade right at it. Blinding white light burst out in an instant, searing through the frozen air. Before the ice phantom could recover, Qin Feng charged forward with his bloodbone blade, ready to strike. But it was a trap. The ice phantom had been faking. In a split second, it gathered energy in its palm for a devastating counterattack. The two clashed head-on, resulting in a brutal exchange where both sides were injured. What the ice phantom didn't know, though, was that Qin Feng possessed insane regeneration. He instantly pulled out another beast core, swallowed it, and activated his god-tier skill, Devour. His wounds began to close rapidly, healing before the enemy's eyes. Rejuvenated and fired up, Qin Feng charged at the ice phantom like a madman, launching a relentless, full-force assault. Qin Feng's relentless assault left the ice phantom completely overwhelmed. It had no chance to fight back. Spotting the perfect opening, he unleashed another berserk strike, bringing the creature down with a decisive blow. Upon defeat, the ice phantom dropped an energy core worth a staggering 80 million credits, and a skill stone for Frost Veil. Qin Feng froze in surprise. A skill stone? That was unheard of outside the system. According to what he knew, mastering such skills typically required reaching at least the 3-star elementalist level. Without hesitation, he consumed the stone immediately and bound the skill to himself. With Frost Veil now in his arsenal, he could easily go full stealth mode, perfect for infiltration, ambushes, or playing dirty when needed. Just then, the system chimed. "Congratulations, host. Challenge complete. Dispensing rewards. Reward: 1 shard each of the wind, ice, thunder, and fire god sigils. Plus 10 level, 4 fire element beast cores." Qin Feng frowned in confusion. Why am I getting so many fire element rewards? I don't even have a fire affinity. As if responding to his doubt, the system immediately granted him a Flame Origin Pearl, a fire talent awakening item. Eyes lighting up, Qin Feng swallowed it without hesitation. Moments later, he successfully awakened his fire elemental talent, classified as basic tier, but enough to start cultivating fire-based techniques. Without wasting a second, he began devouring beast cores and elemental sigil shards like mad. After a short while, his combat power skyrocketed to 900 points. With all 4 elements now under his control, his overall strength rivaled, or even surpassed, that of a 2-star junior elementalist. That's when he noticed something new. His challenger rank had been upgraded to king tier. The discovery made him wonder what lies beyond. The system replied promptly, "Above king tier are royal tier, emperor tier, and god tier, among others." Then came a final prompt. "Warning, time limit exceeded. You will be teleported out of the polar ice field in 10 seconds. After the 10-second countdown, Qin Feng was instantly teleported back to the cultivation chamber. Without wasting a moment, he pulled out the valuable energy core and instructed the system to sell it immediately. Moments later, he received a notification. 80 million credits had just been deposited into his bank account. A grin spread across his face. With his beast-hide armor now destroyed and a total of 140 million credits on hand, it was time to upgrade. He figured it was the perfect chance to try his luck again at the Gear Pavilion. Maybe he'd pull a combat suit with 100% amplification. Arriving at the pavilion, Qin Feng quietly activated his system's detection skill to analyze the blind boxes. After a careful search, he finally pinpointed the one containing the gear he was after. Without hesitation, he picked up the oversized blind box and headed for the counter to check out. Just then, a woman stepped in front of him. Her name was Lu Yan, and she'd been drawn in by Qin Feng's looks and aura. Mistaking him for a newbie, she kindly warned him, "That box might be too big. Bigger doesn't always mean better, you know." Hearing her words, Qin Feng glanced at the woman and instantly realized she wasn't ordinary. Despite her young age, she had already reached the peak of 1-star elementalist. Her background and talent were clearly impressive. Still, he didn't plan to respond. But the woman stepped forward, unwilling to give up. "Boxes that size usually contain armor-type Jin weapons," she explained. And while those are valuable, the Gear Pavilion isn't exactly known for being generous. Big boxes like that, usually stuffed with low-grade junk to trick beginners. Qin Feng chuckled at her expertise. Sounds like you've gambled more than a few times. The woman sighed, turning her back slightly. Don't remind me. If I hadn't poured all my money into these boxes, I'd be a 2-star elementalist by now. But my luck sucks. I never pull anything good. Qin Feng grinned. So much for being a pro. Seems like it really comes down to luck. Good thing I've always been lucky. She huffed. Suit yourself. Handsome. But don't say I didn't warn you when it blows up in your face. Ignoring her, Qin Feng turned to the old man at the counter. I'll take this one. The old man chuckled. Back again, huh, kid? The woman blinked in surprise. Wait, Uncle Zheng, you know him? Zheng laughed. Of course. This is the guy who pulled the wind shadow boots on his very first try this afternoon. The woman was completely stunned. It finally dawned on her. Qin Feng had already hit a jackpot once, and now he was rolling the dice again? She tried once more to talk him out of it. You do realize the odds of hitting big twice in a row are insanely low, right? Qin Feng replied casually, just trying to ride the lucky wave. What he didn't say was, I've got cheats, sweetheart. No need for your concern. With no hesitation, Qin Feng transferred 130 million credits. As soon as word got out, a crowd gathered, eager to witness the luck of this mysterious jackpot magnet. Uncle Zheng stepped forward and slowly opened the massive box. Inside was a fire element armor with a full 100% defense amplification. The woman couldn't believe her eyes. She snatched up the data card to verify it herself. One look, and she was floored. It was real. No tricks, no gimmicks. Just pure luck. Qin Feng remained calm, quietly staring at the 500 million credit combat suit as if it were nothing. At last, the woman gave in, half jokingly, half in awe. You must be Newton's long-lost brother. Newton badass. Qin Feng smirked. It's just luck. You're giving me way too much credit. Uncle Zheng forced a smile, clearly a little sour inside. Kid, your luck is seriously something else. Qin Feng chuckled. All thanks to your blessing, Uncle Zheng. Later, he headed to the Warrior Tower's training hall to find Chu Chu, only to be startled when he saw her waiting at the door. The woman had actually come all this way just to ask for a favor, and she even offered to take him on a date as payment. Caught off guard, Qin Feng blinked. Wait, what exactly do you want? She grinned. Relax. All I want is for you to help me pick a blind box. I just want to borrow a bit of your crazy good luck. Qin Feng raised an eyebrow. Sure, I can help, but what's in it for me? She winked. If you help me out, I'll owe you a favor. Trust me, someone like me hold a bit of sway in Cloud Sun City. Qin Feng hesitated. A favor's nice and all, but it sounds kind of vague. Got anything more tangible? She stepped closer and whispered, help me out, and I'll take you on a date tonight. I've never asked a guy out before. You'd be the first. Qin Feng's face turned bright red. What is it with the women in this world? He thought, why are they all so bold? Thinking Qin Feng didn't like her current look, the woman quickly adjusted her outfit and switched to a completely different style. With a playful smile, she asked, do you prefer this version of me instead? When he didn't answer right away, she leaned in and teased, still not your type? Truth was, her lightning-fast transformation had left Qin Feng speechless. Then she brought out the big guns, her signature move. She began shape-shifting through a series of personas. Sweet schoolgirl, obedient maid, cool and commanding queen. With a confident grin, she said, just name your type. As the shape-shift queen. There's no role I can't pull off. She pouted playfully. Judging by your face, I bet you're into the innocent, pure kind, huh? Qin Feng gave a helpless sigh. All right, you win. Then he pointed. If you're buying a box, go to the third shelf in the entrance. 7th box from the left. Her eyes lit up with excitement as she darted off. Got it. And don't worry. Even if it's trash, I won't blame you. But if I score something amazing, you better not run off. I'll be back to thank you properly. Qin Feng quickly waved it off. That's really not necessary. No way I'm standing around waiting for that, he thought. A few minutes later, the woman excitedly purchased the box Qin Feng had pointed out, and to everyone's shock, it contained a water element gen weapon with an 86% amplification rate. Gasps erupted. That weapon was easily worth over 300 million. Uncle Zheng's face darkened even more. He stood frozen, muttering to himself, "What the hell is going on today? This is unreal." Meanwhile, the woman looked at Qin Feng like he was some kind of divine oracle. In her heart, she was already planning how to properly repay him. On the other side of the building, Qin Feng had already slipped away. He headed for the third floor's training hall, eager to find Chu Chu and get her home. He had no time for more drama. Just as he was about to enter, loud cheers erupted from inside, making him pause with curiosity. He peeked in and saw a crowd gathered around a giant 3D screen, watching a live battle replay with intense excitement. On one side of the screen was a towering muscle-bound man. On the other was tiny little Chu Chu. They were going blow for blow, trading hits evenly. Qin Feng was stunned. Since when was Chu Chu this strong? From what he knew, she had never trained in combat. Yet now she was holding her own like a natural-born fighter. She's got serious talent, he thought, genuinely impressed. Qin Feng couldn't believe what he was seeing. Chu Chu, who had never trained in combat before, was completely dominating a seasoned fighter in a 3D virtual duel. So, what exactly is 3D virtual combat? It's a high-tech simulation where a computer scans the challenger's physical attributes, height, build, etc., and generates a virtual avatar. The challenger then controls this avatar inside a combat pod. In pure combat mode, both sides have equal stats: attack power, speed, defense, you name it. The only deciding factor? Skill and technique. No brute force, no magical hacks, just pure martial prowess. On the screen, Chu Chu leapt nimbly into the air and delivered a powerful strike. Her opponent, the burly man, was forced to raise his shield in desperation. The crowd gasped. Who is this little girl? She's holding her own against Tao the Iron Fist? With talent like this at her age, she's going to be a monster in the future. Hearing that, Qin Feng smiled to himself. This is Chu Chu's first time in a fight, and she's relying entirely on instinct and natural talent to stand toe-to-toe with a battle-hardened opponent. This girl, she's got serious potential. The brawny fighter suddenly launched a swift kick toward Chu Chu, but she reacted instantly, dodging sideways with nimble grace. Undeterred, he drew his combat blade and slashed again. But Chu Chu's sharp instincts guided her. She dodged each strike with fluid precision. Spotting an opening, Chu Chu seized the moment. She lunged forward, sword in hand, aiming straight for his neck. The man had no time to block. Her strike landed clean. Chu Chu had won. The watching crowd exploded. No one could believe it. A tiny girl had just defeated the infamous Tao the Iron Fist. A few moments later, Chu Chu stepped out of the simulation pod. The muscular fighter followed behind, wearing a respectful smile, defeated but impressed. Immediately, a swarm of people rushed forward, excitedly trying to recruit her into their mercenary teams. But Chu Chu shook her head politely. "Thanks, but I'm not looking to join anyone right now." Qin Feng stepped in to shield her. He knew mercenary groups didn't just hunt beasts. They also took on dangerous jobs from private clients. Most members were gene warriors with limited growth potential. The risks were too high for someone like Chu Chu. Glancing at the time, Qin Feng gently led Chu Chu out of the hall. It was time to head home and prepare for tomorrow's patrol mission. Meanwhile, inside the Lin family estate, Lin Shuyang had just finished his routine training session. He turned to his assistant, Xiao Lu. "How did the task I assigned go?" Xiao Lu bowed slightly. "Everything is set. Chu Chu will report to the registration division tomorrow. I've planted an insider. They'll keep us updated on her every move." Still unsatisfied, Lin Shuyang asked, "Has the off-road assault vehicle been checked? What about the micro-missiles? Are they fully loaded?" Xiao Lu replied, "Yes, young master. Everything is ready." The next morning, Qin Feng and Chu Chu arrived at Refugee Zone Number 7 and entered the task hall of the refugee office. Looking around at all the armored and fully equipped people, Chu Chu asked, "Why are we hiding our armor under our clothes and keeping our weapons out of sight?" Qin Feng replied calmly, "It's all about appearing weak. Lower their guard, then strike when they least expect it." But the real reason lay deeper. Qin Feng had no intention of letting Lin Shuyang harm his sister again. Today's mission? Make sure Lin Shuyang doesn't live to see tomorrow. Moments later, Captain Chun addressed the crowd. "You'll be split into 10 teams. Each team will be led by a Gene warrior and sent to a designated defense zone to await further orders from the local commander. Then Captain Chun turned to the Gene warriors. Pick whatever teammates you want. With the green light given, the warriors quickly began selecting their squads. A scar-faced warrior spotted Qin Feng and, impressed by his demeanor, stepped up to recruit him. But Qin Feng had one condition: Chu Chu comes with me. The scarred man immediately backed off. This mission's dangerous. Who wants to drag along deadweight? Chu Chu's face turned red with anger. Who are you calling deadweight? I'm strong, okay? Qin Feng gently patted her shoulder. Let it go. The more they underestimate us, the safer we are. Just then, a kind-faced older man stepped forward and said he'd gladly take Chu Chu on his team. His name was He Feng, a level 4 Gene warrior. But something about him didn't sit right with Qin Feng. While everyone else was picking the strong, this guy chose Chu Chu, a move that defied logic. When something feels off, it usually is, Qin Feng thought. Still, with Lin Shuyang yet to make a move, the smartest play was to stay low and avoid tipping him off. Joining this kind uncle might be the safest route for now. Before long, their group was en route to the outer highway along the borders of Cloud Sun Bay City. After a short drive, the group arrived at the S-22 housing sector. One by one, they jumped out of the vehicle and gathered at the designated rally point. Qin Feng raised an eyebrow. So, what exactly are we doing out here on patrol? Team leader He Feng chuckled and explained, it's simple. The main troops handle the actual patrol work. We're just here to assist, run errands, set up gear, maybe handle some grunt work. Just then, the sharp click of boots echoed from behind. A powerful-looking woman strode into view. It was none other than Colonel Liu Yan, commander of the 9th Regiment. He Feng immediately stepped forward and saluted. He Feng, leader of Refugee Patrol Unit 8, reporting for duty. Liu Yan swept her gaze across the assembled crowd. For the next week, you will all assist my regiment in border patrol operations. There is only one rule: obedience. Absolute, unquestioning obedience. Even if the order is wrong, you follow it. As she finished, she released a powerful aura, revealing herself to be a peak 1-star elementalist. Her voice was cold as ice. Disobey orders and you die. The entire crowd froze, visibly shaken by her pressure. Qin Feng finally got a clear look and nearly cursed it aloud. It's her, Liu Yan, the woman from the gear pavilion. He quickly covered his face and silently prayed, "Please don't see me. Please don't see me." Next to him, Chu Chu blinked and whispered, "Are you sneaking snacks?" Just then, Vice Commander Wang stepped forward. All registration teams, line up according to your group numbers. You'll be embedded with the main patrol units. Mission begins now. 3 hours later, under the protection of the military unit, Qin Feng and his group arrive at the outer perimeter of the defense zone. At that moment, team leader he warned everyone, stay sharp. This area is notorious for sudden beast attacks. One moment of carelessness could cost you. Before long, they reached a surveillance tower. This structure was critical for detecting beast movement. Any sudden spike in humidity would signal an approaching threat. It was a vital military outpost. The soldiers accompanying them gave orders. He Feng and his refugee squad were to rebuild the tower, while the military unit would patrol the next sector and return afterward. He Feng nodded and quickly assigned tasks to his group, taking charge of perimeter security himself. Move fast, he said, but don't let your guard down. Not for a second. Meanwhile, elsewhere outside the city walls, Lin Shuyang was driving a combat vehicle with Xiao Lu at his side. Just then, Xiao Lu received a signal from their informant. The data was crystal clear. Chu Chu was located exactly 11 li away, directly in their 6 o'clock direction. Lin Shuyang's eyes lit up with excitement. His expression shifted. He looked exactly like a predator that had just locked eyes on its prey. Meanwhile, under military orders, Qin Feng and his team were working hard to rebuild the surveillance tower. But before they could finish, the sharp crack of gunfire rang out in the distance. Captain He quickly raised his binoculars to assess the situation. What he saw made his heart sink. A massive herd of iron fang boars was stampeding straight toward them. Everyone froze in shock. These beasts were on par with Gene warriors in raw power. and their group only had Captain He capable of holding the line. Reacting instantly, Captain He leapt down from the scaffolding and shouted, "Scatter! Don't group up. You'll have a better chance if you run in different directions." Drawing his battle blade, he added, "Go. I'll hold them off." But Qin Feng and Chu Chu didn't budge. Instead, they pulled out the pistols Captain He had issued earlier. Captain He's face darkened. "Are you too insane? You're no match for those beasts. Fall back to the defense zone now." The Boers were already closing in. With no time left to argue, Captain He turned and barked, "Everyone retreat now." Raising his blade high, he gathered all his strength and slashed upward at the leading Boer's jaw with a thunderous roar. The lead Ironfang Boer was sent sprawling by Captain He's powerful slash. Without hesitation, he delivered a crushing follow-up blow. His blade cleaved in the beast's skull, decapitating it instantly. Then, with a burst of strength, he leapt high into the air once more. His sword pierced clean through the skull of a second charging Boer, killing it on the spot. After taking down two beasts, Captain He quickly retreated to recover. His breathing was ragged. He'd clearly burned through a huge amount of stamina. Knowing more beasts could be on the way, he realized it was too dangerous to stay put. He led Qin Feng and Chu Chu in a swift retreat, using the terrain to shake off the rest of the Ironfang herd. Even after escaping, he remained cautious. "Don't let your guard down. We'll rest here for 20 minutes and keep watch. The defense zone should be about 30 kilometers southwest. If we move fast, we can make it back before nightfall." Still, Qin Feng couldn't shake off the unease in his heart. When that beast horde attacked, Lin Shuyang never showed up. Has Chu Chu's crisis really passed that easily? Just then, a combat vehicle roared toward them at high speed. Lin Shuyang and his crew had arrived. The moment Qin Feng saw him, rage flared in his chest. He was ready to strike, but Lin Shuyang beat him to it. With a sinister grin, he grabbed the controls of the vehicle's mounted Gatling gun and opened fire without hesitation. Qin Feng reacted instantly, scooping up Chu Chu and diving out of harm's way. Lin Shuyang let out a maniacal laugh. All of you just die." Qin Feng knew dodging forever wasn't an option. He decided to take the fight to Lin Shuyang, charging straight at the vehicle. Lin Shuyang only got more excited. To him, Qin Feng was just some regular guy. No threat at all. What he didn't know was that Qin Feng had already awakened as an elementalist, dodging bullets with lightning speed and agility. Still, Lin Shuyang sneered. "So what if you're an elementalist?" 221. He pulled up the micro-missile targeting system, locked onto Qin Feng, and slammed the launch button. Qin Feng scoffed. "A few micro-missiles? Is that your big move? Get that junk out of my face." With a thunderous boom, the missile exploded, completely neutralized by Qin Feng's elemental power. Not a scratch on him. Lin Shuyang and Xiao Lu were frozen in shock, their jaws practically hitting the floor. Watching from a distance, Bai Su's expression turned grim. "This is bad. Second young master's in danger." Realizing how badly the situation had spiraled, Lin Shuyang shouted, "Xiao Lu, step on it. Get us out of here now." But Qin Feng had no intention of letting them escape. He raised his hand, wind energy crackling in his palm. With a single sweeping motion, a fierce gust surged forward, flipping the entire combat vehicle like it was a toy. Without hesitation, Qin Feng summoned the bloodbone blade from his storage ring. One devastating slash, and the vehicle was cleaved clean in half. Xiao Lu was killed instantly in the wreckage. Lin Shuyang, barely alive, was thrown from the blast. Seeing Qin Feng closing in, he dropped to his knees, trembling. "I had no choice. Please, I'll never do it again." Qin Feng's eyes were cold as ice. "You're not walking away from this." Desperate, Lin Shuyang screamed, "Hey, you over there, what are you waiting for? You're just gonna watch me die?" Before Qin Feng could respond, Captain He suddenly grabbed Chu Chu and held a blade to her neck. "Qin Feng, stop. One more move, and your sister dies." But Qin Feng wasn't surprised. He had warned Chu Chu beforehand. "That guy's suspicious. Don't let your guard down." Sure enough, He Feng was a mole planted by Lin Shuyang. But Chu Chu was ready. She broke free the moment his grip slipped. She spun around and struck him hard, sending him flying straight into a wall with a thunderous crash. Lin Shuyang's jaw dropped. What the? That brat took down a level 4 Gene warrior. Qin Feng smirked. Now you see why I had no problem leaving her with him? Chu Chu stared at Captain He in disbelief. Why? Why did you lie to me? My brother warned me, and I refused to believe it. You always treated me like you cared. He Feng's face twisted in guilt. My daughter, she's just a little girl. She's seriously ill. I needed the money, and I was desperate. This is my failure, not yours. I'm sorry, Chu Chu. Do it. Her grip on her weapon loosened. Her heart faltered. But He Feng's remorse was fake. He suddenly lunged forward, blade raised, aiming straight at her. In a flash, Qin Feng hurled his sword like lightning. Before the blade could fall, He Feng was pinned to the wall, dead on impact. Chu Chu stood frozen, completely shell-shocked. She had never faced such brutal violence up close. Qin Feng turned to her, his tone harsh. Why didn't you finish him? Tears welled up in Chu Chu's eyes as she broke down sobbing. Qin Feng sighed, softening slightly. Don't blame me, but you need to understand, this world is survival of the fittest. Never trust anyone too easily. He turned toward Lin Shuyang, gripping his blade tightly. With a cold smirk, he said, You came all this way to deliver your head. It'd be rude of me not to accept. Lin Shuyang collapsed, wailing. Please, I'm begging you, don't kill me. Suddenly, a shout rang out. Stop! Don't you dare harm our second young master. It was Bai Su. She had arrived. She unleashed her spell, Earth Dragon Lock. The ground cracked open as countless plant-like tendrils shot upward, aiming to ensnare Qin Feng. He jumped high, dodging the initial strike. But Bai Su seized the moment. Green Python Deathbind, vines wrapped around him like living snakes, then slammed him hard into the ground with brutal force. Lin Shuyang burst into laughter. Haha, the heavens haven't abandoned me. Chief buys a mid-stage 1-star wood elementalist. You'll never kill me now. But before he could finish gloating, Qin Feng exploded with power. Bloodbone Blade activated, 100% amplification unleashed. The vines were shredded in an instant. Bai Su's face twisted in panic. She fired off her trump card, Rapid Death Arrow. Qin Feng sneered. That's your idea of rapid? Activating his wind shadow boots, his figure vanished in a blur, faster than lightning. Bai Su's eyes widened. She couldn't even track his movement. In the blink of an eye, Qin Feng was already in front of her. His blade came down, and her head hit the ground a moment later. Lin Shuyang went pale with terror. Why, you're a 2-star elementalist. That's impossible. He dropped to his knees, groveling. Please, don't kill me. Desperate, he played his final card. If you kill me, the Lin family will hunt you to the ends of the earth. But Qin Feng's eyes were cold as frost. Then I'll bury the Lin family right after I bury you. Before the words even finished leaving his lips, Qin Feng unleashed the Bloodbone Blade's most powerful strike. One clean arc, and Lin Shuyang was dead on the spot. With the threat eliminated, Qin Feng moved swiftly. He stored the combat vehicle and bodies into his spatial ring, erasing every trace of the battle. Chu Chu ran up, handing him her sword, her voice trembling. Brother, we just killed Lin Shuyang. The Lin family won't let this go. Qin Feng gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, we're heading back to the defense zone. There's someone there who can help us. Chu Chu blinked. Really? Qin Feng nodded, his tone firm. Absolutely. That person owes me a very big favor.